Two childhood friends deal with the hidden troubles of their perfect-looking small hometown through their relationships and ambitions in the 1942 drama King's Row. And that's the movie we're dusting off this week on Movie Bones.
Whoa there! Well, for Pete's sake, look who's here. Paris!
Hello, Drake.
Where you been keeping yourself? This is the fellow I was telling you about. Meet the Ross girls, Ginny and Poppy Ross.
How do you do? I've heard about you.
Oh, I'll just bet you have. Say, how do you like my new horse and buggy? Just got my allowance yesterday. What have you been doing with yourself anyway?
Well, I've been pretty busy, Drake. College.
He's studying to be a doctor. Smart as a whip. Hey, climb in a buggy and forget your studies. We're going out for a ride in the country. Sit Ginny on your lap. Or I'll give you Poppy if you like 'em plump. I do.
Some other time, Drake.
Well, there's no time like right now.
Well, I can't go this afternoon. I'm on my way to see, well, Dr. Tower.
Cassie's old man? What for?
I'm going to read medicine with him.
Say, I didn't know anybody ever got to see the Towers. How long's this been going on?
Well, it hasn't. This is the first time I've been there.
Cassie Tower. Ain't she the one?
Sure she is. Her old man keeps her under lock and key like he thought every fellow in town was aiming to kidnap her. Guess they'd like to at that. Say, I haven't seen Cassie since we were kids together in school. Have you?
No, I haven't.
Sure wish I was in your boots. Let me know how you come out.
I'll have to go now.
Only gal in school used to wear silk stockings.
I'm sorry about this afternoon. Some other time.
Oh, sure, kid. See you soon. Well, here we go.
Dun 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 dun. If I hadn't already known, I would have guessed it, that John Williams was listening very closely to this for a certain space epic.
To that point right there, I did not know. And I'm sitting there as the movie's being played, and I'm like, man, that does sound a lot like it. And it's only because I started reading your notes on the film that I realized, okay, it was intentional from the other side, from John Williams' side.
Yeah.
Because, I'm sitting there going, that's like I think it's the Twin Sons theme.
It's the opening march, isn't it? It's the opening march?
I think it's part of it, but the slowed down version that plays while Luke is on Tatooine. But, of course, this is not about that. But, yes, I'm sitting there and I'm just kind of like, this is, I'm not like hearing things, right, that are not there. And again, like I said, when I started reading your notes on the film, I was like, okay, all right.
You're not crazy. He actually held the guy who wrote the score for this film in pretty high regard, apparently. So, and obviously, Korngold, I think his name is, is the guy who composed the score for this one. But yeah, it's so that's the thing that hits you up right up front. But obviously, this is a very different kind of story than Star Wars. It's kind of amazing that now I associate these kind of musical overtones with now two movies. It's got big themes on its mind, kind of like, Star Wars is dealing in big themes.
Absolutely. I'm actually a bit surprised this book has not been remade into another movie in this day and age, because this is a controversial book.
Yeah. And I'm sure they had to do some things with the censor. Through the censors.
They absolutely had to do some stuff through the censor, because it says the novel deals with themes of mental illness, which that is in there, incest, homosexuality, suicide, gender equality in relationships, and sadistic vengeance.
That part's in there too, for sure.
And
the sadistic vengeance.
The mental illness, suicide, gender equality in relationships, and sadistic vengeance. I mean, those are big themes in the movie, but I know it sounds shocking. The incest and the homosexuality themes are not there. And I can tell you, when I came across looking up stuff about this movie, and a scene that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, but the scene, that's one character had her own mental illness and everything. Yeah. Apparently that was the big thing that was changed, because apparently in the book, there was a relationship between that character and her father, unfortunately.
Okay. So, really?
Yeah, that's what's in the book, and folks were. I'm not trying to.
Claude Rains' character and the daughter. Claude Rains' character. Oh wow.
I'm not saying it's like, oh, we need to see it on screen. I'm just saying, like, this is almost one of those books that I'm a bit surprised has not been remade into a movie in more of our time period. So I'll read this real quick. A film adaptation of the book, modeled on his hometown of Fulton, Missouri, presented significant problems for movie industry censors who sought to bring the film into conformity with the Hays Code.
That's it, the Hays Code.
Yeah, screenwriter Casey Robertson believed the project was hopeless because of the code. Producer Hal B. Wallace said that Robinson felt, I was crazy to have bought so downbeat a property. He urged him to reconsider, and Robinson realized that he could turn this into a story of an idealistic young doctor challenged by the realities of a cruel and horrifying world. Objected to illicit relationships between characters in the movies without sufficient compensating moral values. He also objected to the general suggestion to loose relationships, which carries throughout the entire script. Breen was further concerned about the characterization of Cassandra as a victim of incest with her father, the mercy killing of the grandmother by Paris, and the sadistic characterization of Dr. Gordon.
Oh, there was a mercy killing too.
Yeah, the grandmother.
They didn't include that because she just dies.
Knowing that, you can kind of see in the movie where they, I wouldn't say hinted at that, but they could, because when you first met with the grandmother, she talks about, she looks like she's in perfect health. I'm going to be honest with you. But she's honest. She's like, she says, I've only got a couple months to live.
Yeah.
And so you could see that same, I've never read this book, obviously, but you can see that same, thought leading to, I don't want to be alive anymore for these specific health reasons. And then having someone do that mercy killing, because it's Paris that does it in the book.
Actually, I'm kind of glad they did make that change, actually, because it kind of think it would have ruined his. One of the things I love about the movie is Paris's he's idealistic, but he's also.
I'd say he's the most moral good.
He's the most moral good character. He's idealistic, but he's not moralistic. In other words, he does not. He's not judgmental. So, but he keeps certain values, and I think he actually, in the way the movie portrays it, he's very cognizant of kind of the way that the town is going, and that there's all this kind of undercurrent in the town that need help, and that they're not getting that kind of help, and that's one of the reasons why he goes into psychiatry. As I think in my original notes, I even put it as this town would be a boom for a psychologist.
It's kind of funny that he writes this story. The author's Bellamons. It's his hometown of Fulton, Missouri.
Yeah. I think they didn't quite like the analogy.
Yeah. It was not long before the citizenry of Fulton began to look around and realize his fictional town was in fact a reinterpretation of their small city. I'm sure they're sitting there going, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. He's talking about us? He's airing our dirty laundry, huh?
But that being said, because people are going to get upset about that, but that being said, here's the thing, I've lived in a small town, and, I grew up in a small town. I'm not going to say that this stuff, I wouldn't say it's a dark, evil place, but I can't, because I don't believe that. But I can say that in small towns that do have this kind of, at times, reputation, of being, quaint, quiet little places.
Yeah.
Because, the thing is, everybody knows everybody. And sometimes when everybody knows everybody, situations arise in which some really messed up things happen. And because those really messed up things happen and they're thrown under, they're just swept under the rug, it can paint a darker picture of those places.
It's everybody knows about it, but nobody talks about it. And because nobody talks about it, then things just kind of never get better, because if you don't talk about it, no one's going to take any initiative to help anyone, to try to offer a hand to help anyone meaningfully out of the situation.
They had 2 doctors in town, and one of them's dead after a while.
Even Dr. Tower, the way they portray him is he's kind of an inactive doctor, so to speak. He's kind of there, but not actually practicing.
And when you're in a small town, you get what you get at times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the reality of it, is that you get what you get. It's this guy is clearly not a good person. I mean, that's the thing. The other doctor in the story, it's pretty clear that he's not a good person. But the thing is, when you deal with someone like that, the truth is, it's who else is going to come here? We might as well. I mean, everybody seemed to know this guy did some really messed up things.
Yeah. And they just kind of let it go, They just kind of, it's just one of those things that's understood. He's that way.
It's difficult for a movie to do something like this with the time period they were in. I'm skipping to the end a little bit here real quick, just talking about that.
Yeah.
Like when you watch that scene where Drake gets injured, like my first thought was, there ain't no way that, that was to such a degree that needed to be the remedy of it. I thought that. Like I was suspicious of it.
Because it's like all you see is and it was a bit confusing the way that was shot, because it looks like that the stack of whatever it is falls down on top of him, but later on they describe it as him being pinned pinned next to the wheels, I guess, of the train. And it's this great thing I love about it is that the movie really is about removing the Band-Aids. A Band-Aid is a short-term fix, but the long-term fix is you got to remove the Band-Aid and you got to let the air and the sunlight touch the wound, and so you can actually be cleaned and treated, because you can't just leave the same bandages on, and just expect something to heal. And that's what Paris really ends up having to learn. He accepts that in many cases, but then what I love about that is that he actually gets tested. He's presented with the opportunity, right, to go along, right? He's really tempted to do it for the sake of his friend. And it takes another voice, another character comes in, and at that point it's Elise. She's the voice of conscience at that moment. It's like, no, you can't just, you can't treat your friend, in this case, like a friend, because he's your patient. And as a patient you care about, the doctor that you said you wanted to be, that kind of legendary doctor, this is the kind of thing you're going to have to do. And guess what? And that's not to say that in every case, just doing this is going to produce like the optimal result. In most cases, when there's this kind of festering thing going on, you kind of have to bring it to light to some degree. It's a kind of version of confession in a way, Yeah.
You notice that Ann Sheridan has the top billing in this movie?
I do love what they do with her. I mean, I love when she enters into the film proper, like I said, about halfway through. She's the antidote and the remedy for so many other kind of what I would call 1940s, 1950s stock female characters. She's the remedy for that, to break those barriers, and even where is the woman's place, if you want to call it that, from that time period, was to just be quiet and to let the man do his thing. She's doing what she has to do. She's taking care of someone she loves. In this case. She's firm. She has her principles. Otherwise, she wouldn't have even gotten Drake to be as bold as he was in confronting her father, and which actually sealed the deal for her, really. But she brought that out on him, and she was able to take care of him. And in every way, she's doing and saying the things she needs to say, regardless of how it's going to come out, and if it's Drake or to anyone else. And that's so needed. My only complaint with her character is that toward the very end of it, she kind of fades into the distant background a little bit, becomes a little bit more of that kind of generic 40s and 50s female character type trope. But for the most part, she's not like that. And she's kind of one of the keys of the movie for me, actually.
You almost wonder if they weren't so worried about censorship, would we get more of that? Like, would we get more of her character? We come to a sort of end, or at least a pause with the Drake and Randy story. And then that's where Randy gets, all of a sudden she's kind of forgot about it. It's like, okay, well, her part here is done. And now we're focusing back on Paris and everything, which I didn't part of the answer of it now is that happened because of, you can't go super far with some of these storylines.
I do think the thing that Cassie was going to tell Paris before the night everything went south was that she was pregnant.
See, that's what I was thinking too.
I thought so much that she was pregnant.
Because when you think of quote unquote bad people or bad parents, you think that they're such a way that's like, when we're introduced to Dr. Tower, he's like a perfectly reasonable person. And I know perfectly reasonable people can be, bad. But what I'm saying is they seem like perfectly reasonable. He seems like not a bad person. So we don't really it's almost kind of confusing. Why are you forcing your daughter to basically be an invalid? Never leaving,
locked up.
Locked up, never leaving her house. Why are you doing that? And I thought, I was like, okay, well, this is what's clearly going to happen is that she's going to wind up pregnant, which is, that's taboo. Part of the reason why that's taboo is because of the time period that you're in, not just when the movie's made, but I'm talking about this is the 1900s.
Dr. Tower is interesting to me because it's in keeping with the theme of the movie, that this town is trying to cover things up. What's the ultimate way to cover something up is to eliminate the person then. And then you feel guilt and shame over that. It's all about the shame again. It's all about covering up the shame. And so he covers up his shame by killing his own daughter, who's probably pregnant, and he probably knows it. And then by ending his own life because he can't handle the shame of having done what he's just done. And that really is tragic. You really do feel the weight of it. I mean, it's not just something that's done for melodramatic reasons. This movie can feel like it hits certain, like it dances close to the line of like certain melodramatic things because they feel so episodic at times. But it is tied together by theme. It's all tied together by theme. And that's what makes it work. Whereas something like, I think it was the Strange Woman, for example. That was just scattershot melodrama. That was just pure melodrama up and down. And it was just scattershot. Just throw things at the wall. The movie is really doing the best it can to try to tackle some very difficult things. And I think it's very admirable overall. And it comes to a very triumphant end. I have to talk about the ending because that's like the ultimate kind of release for something like, basically the truth shall set you free. And when you see that moment, because Drake's been all kind of beat up on himself, he's lost his legs and he feels like he's useless. And what would the news mean to him that like someone did this to you deliberately and it makes it that much more pointless that this happened? And it's like, actually, no, it actually says being honest, and especially the way that Paris deals with it and the way he tells it to him, it turns his pride into something that's good for a change. His pride has been a source of negativity for him. But when it turns around and he's actually willing then almost like, he thought that guy thought he could take my dignity away because of this. Who am I? I'm not in my legs. From that into the end of the film, you see Paris just kind of like he's flying high. And that was a really great moment because I feel like I'm flying high with him too. It's like, this is like the ultimate triumph. This is the recognition of what was possible when you can do those things. You kind of reveal the dignity of the human person. That's what makes your soul kind of soar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That really is.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely agree. I love that ending. And the funny thing about that ending, not really funny, but like, the lighthearted, it's kind of cliche. The person running into the sunset, essentially, where he's really just running back to this character. Now, that's probably the only thing, this character that we were literally just introduced to.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
It's a very, very fast.
That's one of my negatives about the movie is that she's kind of this character kind of thrown in at the end.
That's one of those things where I would have like maybe introduced her like maybe 10 minutes earlier than she was originally.
Yeah. And if I could just add like one more thing to that, because that's making me think now, it's like how the characters, even like Paris's grandmother and the nursemaid, I guess, what's her name? I can't think of her name. She's German. But they're very kind of worried about the next generation. And even I can't think it, the guy with the beard. I mean, there's that guy with the beard that consults Paris at times. He's an important guy in the town. Yeah. I can't think of his position. Basically, it's like they're all expressing very kind of concern for the next generation, that this generation is passing away, and that represents something bad. And it's always that tension between, trying to hold on to things from the past, this is the way they were, or, trying to at least understand things from a different perspective and while still holding on to your principles and values. And the movie, it really comes down to that. It's a very powerful thing. So anyway, I think we've pretty much squeezed the lemon dry in this one. So go ahead. And why don't you give your verdict, man?
I'm at Fortune and Glory. I think this movie is watch this movie. I think you should go read the background of this movie. I'm going to try to find the book myself and read it or listen to it. The little things about the movie that I didn't like are, don't outweigh how I felt about the movie in the end.
Okay. All right. I can say I really, really, really like this movie. I just kind of fall just short of love. I had a chance to watch it a second time before we recorded. I will say the pacing could have been a little tighter. The 2 hours does feel a little bit long for it. It doesn't kill it at all. It doesn't even hurt the film badly, but I just hadn't tended to notice it a little bit more. Going back to Randy's character, she's great for like 90% of the time she's on screen. That last 10% of it I wish they hadn't done that. What they did was just kind of made her recede into the background, made her more generic as they did so. Her reactions became more generic instead of specific. Again, it's a small thing, and the last thing I think is just like it does There are melodramatic points in the story where it feels like that it's almost on the verge of overacting. It's not quite there, but it's always just dancing on the line, you know. And for me, those things, it's like I really, really, really like this movie. So much about this movie I like. There's just a few things that keep it from being something that I would want to like say I deeply love it. 5 out of 5. I am close to you on this movie. So what can we say, folks? Trust us on this one. It's at least a trust me. So anyway, folks, that's all we got this week. I don't think I added a tagline in for the next week's movie, actually, in my script. That's a terrible thing, Justin. But I did tell you do you remember what the movie I told you was that we're doing next time?
Is it Jeremiah Johnson?
It's Jeremiah Johnson, yeah. Guy heads out into the wilderness and stuff happens. It's a guy escaping war, basically. He's a veteran of, I think the Civil War or the Mexican-American War, I think. You can look that up if you want to, but it's like, and he decides to go out into the mountains and become a mountain man. And things complicate.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. What's that?
This is what I thought, because I remember you telling me about Jeremiah Johnson. And have you seen the meme?
No, I don't think there's a meme around Jeremiah Johnson.
There is a meme.
Is it around a beard or something? Because that's the only, when I think of Jeremiah Johnson, it's a guy in a bearskin and a long beard. That's about all I can think of.
Or it's a meme and a viral GIF that's happened, or GIF, however you want to say it. But it's his character. It's Robert Redford's character. I don't know if the camera is, doing a close up of him, but he does this thing where he's smiling and he's like shaking his head. And I'm going to send it to you here in a little bit on Facebook.
Okay, does it have his hand raised at all?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have his hand raised. Here's the funniest thing. For the longest time, and I will tell you, I'm one of those people. If you know who the character or the actor Zach Galifianakis is, for the longest time, people thought this was Zach Galifianakis because they didn't know this was from a movie. Absolutely. And like someone was like, no, this is from a movie, Jeremiah Johnson, and it starred Robert Redford. I'm telling you, this GIF it's so iconic at this point.
Okay.
I know about this movie because of that particular thing.
At this time, we'd like to remind our listeners out there that if you're having a good time with Ryan and me dusting off these old movies in search of celluloid treasure, please do like, subscribe, and comment. And of course, follow us on your podcast purveyor of choice. Tell us what you think we got wrong, and clue us in on a few of the titles you'd like us to see cover on future episodes. As long as they're available for free on Tubi or other, like Internet Archive or something, because this adventure comes with no strings attached. Can't think of anything else to say this week, Ryan. How about you? Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think we've said it all.
All right, we have said it all, folks. There you go. There's nothing left to hear.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
That's a hot one, isn't it? Where did Gordon think I lived? In my legs?